It's a Saturday and we are here to give you nothing but the best in terms of sports and where sports is concerned, and to give you the highlights in terms of what happened during the course of the week and what we are going to do for the weekend. I'm your host Amos, aka Amore, and welcome to Off the Pitch. And as usual, I'm not alone on set. I'm joined by one Angorapson and one Augustine. Angorapson, welcome.
Thank you very much to our dear viewers for joining us this Saturday morning, and it's always a pleasure to be here. We missed the show last week, and by God's grace, here we are back discussing but nothing but the best of Zambian football. It's been a very, very busy week, if you ask me. Very, very busy week, and I'm sure every Zambian out there is smiling and having the best of what we could have experienced in a long time. Now we are experiencing it now. The girls are making us very, very proud, and probably we'll look forward to discussing more of that.
Augustine, after we did the dab on Senegal.
Yeah, thank you very much, Amos. We return all the glory and honor to the Most High God. A big good morning to our viewers out there. It's been a roller coaster ride for Zambian football with high emotions. You see what the girls are doing in Morocco and the men's in South Africa. I can safely say Zambian football is back to where it's belonging. Football now.
We are getting there.
We are at the top of world football now. We are doing it with the men's team and the women's team. What more can you ask for?
Indeed. It's, you know, for me, really, I was actually very, very shocked because the bar was being set at a very, very high level by our girls, and I'm sure where our boys were, they had to respond. It was a lot of pressure for them, and for them to rise to the occasion and just make the nation proud. I think kudos to everybody involved in the men's football and the women's football. For the first time, they are putting a smile on people. For the first time, people are watching soccer without having to worry about their blood pressure.
But the funny thing is 2012 we were African champions for the men. Fast forward 10 years later, 2022.
The women are taking over.
Yes,
of course.
we're African champions.
No, I love the confidence, and hope you, the viewers out there, are having the same confidence that me and Angorapson and Augustine are having in terms of the women national team bringing back or bringing that trophy. It's coming home, like the England used to say. It's remaining, but it never stayed. So hopefully the women will make us proud. And our question for today is: do you think the SHEPOLOPOLO will go all the way and carry the trophy back to Zambia? We'll just give you the details of that after this very short break. I'm sure we are big.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet Channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
Our women's national team did us proud by beating Senegal, and it was a very, very hectic game, and I was very, very worried looking at all the penalties taken. They are taken on the same direction, and Angorapson.
Well, fantastic performance by our ladies, and rising to the occasion and making us proud in that game. I think for me, kudos to the goalkeeper. She took the mantle, she saved the penalty, took the mantle upon herself, and you know, when you are carrying the nation on your shoulders and you are taking the last spot kick, it's a very, 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 very heavy thing to do. Those of us who played soccer before, it's a heavy thing to do. And she was horizontally picked up that spot and buried the ball in the back of the net. We saw the celebrations. Everybody back home was very happy. But I think for me, Lusho Momwemba on that day was very, very good in defense, and it's not very surprising to see actually Grace Chanda and Bruce Mwape being shortlisted for those continental awards that will be taking place in Morocco probably after the finals. It's not very, very surprising. Average Tundu was on point. That young girl from Chipukusu was very, 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 very instrumental in that great comeback after we quickly went behind, and for me, really great comeback for the girls. Let's look at player by player and position by position. When you look at how our defense was, I was looking forward to seeing Mary Lombe, but
maybe before we get into more details and corruption, maybe we just take a look at the highlights. That's just a quick overview, so that maybe people should get up to speed in terms of what we are discussing. So if we can just have the highlights of the women national team versus Senegal. The beautiful game there, it made us very, very proud because it was a worrisome game. But anyway, congrats to the women's national team for making us proud and qualifying to the Women's World Cup. Augustine.
Yeah, it's been a very, very good journey for the SHEPOLOPOLO. If you look at how we started in the first game against Cameroon, the favorites, probably the favorites in our group. We were seen as as the second favorites in the group, and we went toe to toe with Cameroon. We had to sit in deep. We had to contain them. The girls had to work extra hard to try and keep a clean sheet in that game against Cameroon, and it had a lot of things that were surrounding that game. It was the opener. There were a lot of questions to what is happening with the team. Certain players missing, and probably the tactics of the coach Bruce Mape being questioned by a lot of soccer fans. But you would see here we had probably two banks of two lines, defensive lines, solid lines that we had in the game against Cameroon. We had to weather the storm. We did very well. Then we moved on to the game against Tunisia, where we had to be a little bit more adventurous because it was probably a 50-50 game against the North African oppositions. And the girls started like a house on fire from the start. They attacked Tunisia. The introduction of Simona Mapepo and Ochumba Oseke brought life to Zambians' attack, and you could see different dimensions in the game, with Irene Rungu being the pivot of the team. She holds the team together. She's the one who links midfield and attack together, and she played a very, very crucial role in that game in distributing the ball and recycling it for the SHEPOLOPOLO. And eventually we had to dig in deep until the very, very last minute. That shows the levels of concentration the girls have, and we won the game. Going into the game against Togo, we had probably nothing to play for except to win the first position to qualify as the #1 team, because at that point we had already qualified to the quarterfinals. And we played against a Togolese side which were debutants at the tournament, probably not at the same level that we are in terms of women's football, and it showed on the day. We scored wonderful goals, beating them by 4-1, is it? And now the tough test was quarterfinal against a Senegalese who are physically bigger than us. You would see when we started the first half, we played a lot of long balls, which was a very, very disadvantage to us. The Senegalese would always cut us our attacking lines, and they scored through a set piece, which you could have avoided when you are playing teams like Senegal, who are big and huge than you. You do not commit offenses near your penalty box, and that was a very, very good cross from the Senegalese, and they scored from that. But the girls showed character. They went behind. They didn't drop their heads. It was the first time in the tournament that they had gone behind. So now they needed the response. They needed to react, and they went and got an equalizer. We could have won it probably in extra time. We hit the woodwork once. We had the goal disallowed. And when we went to penalties, I think to me that was probably the toughest moment when it came to the SHEPOLOPOLO, because we had two penalties in the tournament and we missed all of them. Lushomo Mwemba, not the best of penalty takers, I must say. She's a very, very good and solid defender, but if you remember, even at the Kosafa, she missed the penalty. And she missed the penalty again during the tournament. And when she was stepping up for that penalty, I had question marks. Really, with the people I was watching with, I said Lushom was not a very good penalty taker. In fact, we do not have a lot of good penalty takers in
even
our
Grace
team. Grace doesn't take penalties for the team.
I got shocked when that one was given to Lushom.
She had, because Grace, I think, probably that was the first time I saw Grace take a penalty at the national team. She doesn't take penalties, and she had to step up because she was the leader. Yeah, she had to step up and show character. Hezon had a brilliant performance. She made a save and won it for SHEPOLOPOLO, and we qualified to the World Cup. This is something which has been building up from probably 2014 when we qualified for our first under 17 World Cup. And that same year we qualified for the Senior Africa Cup of Nations for the first time, which was hosted in Namibia, which we went and lost all the games in the tournament. So it's something which we have been building steadily, and the people that have been involved have worked tirelessly to try and get our women's national team to this level where we have reached now. Hezonale was part of that under-17 outing in Costa Rica, and was also part of the Africa Cup of Nations outing in Namibia. She has grown to be the player she is right now with the experience and exposure that she has gained during this period. And congratulations to the SHEPOLOPOLO. They really did Zambia and Southern Africa proud.
And perhaps Ogasina started some players like maybe we say Lushom, Hazel, or Grace, but for you wanted to go player by player. Maybe for you, who did you feel like carried the horns even if we were down?
Well, firstly, kudos to the technical bench. When that game started, we saw a lot of instability, and for once, if you've been following the games that they've been playing, the pace in the game against the Senegalese was very, very low. When you look at the first game we played Cameroon, the tempo was very high. Look at the game that we played the Tunisians. The pace was very good. Everybody was pressing high. We were moving as a unit, going up in front and coming back to defend. The game against Senegal, probably we were beaten by the physical presence of those tall ladies, very, very tall and huge. And the mistake we made in that game, we began by throwing those long balls. And those long balls were not doing us any favor when it comes to ball control and ball possession. We lost it when we started hitting them high. We were caught on that set piece. Nice cross on the left. The ball went in. The girls didn't drop their tempo. We continued pushing until the goalkeeper fumbled and Tundu went behind the goalkeeper and buried the ball in the back of the net to equalize. Now, when it came to the penalties, that is when I even knew that, okay, this is trouble, because my take in that particular game was very, very simple. If the girls can manage to beat Senegal within the regulation time, we would have said, okay, the girls are going to go to the World Cup. When the ref, who was seemingly, and I suspect it's my opinion, I think she was more on the soft side on the Senegalese, because
what kind of
I saw a lot of decisions, very, very hesitant decisions. You could even tell, even that far where she wrongly gave Chitundu a yellow card, and a few seconds later she reversed it and gave it to the correct person, Irene. I was like, okay, so this lady, this referee, is not making independent decisions. Most of the decisions she would pause and wait for the VAR officials to actually tell her what she's supposed to do. She wasn't on top of her game, if you ask me, and the girls didn't lose concentration. They were being punished by certain decisions which the ref was making. They left their concentration levels very, very high. They focused on the match, and we managed to salvage a point. Went into extra time. They did what they could do. What I liked the most is what Bruce Mwape did. Leaving the players, having trust and faith in the same players for that long in women's football, it means that you are trusted. Very, very trusted. And the responsibility that those players had, where you are playing, you are tired, you are still playing, you are still committed, and you are still pushing at that level of football beyond 90 minutes. And the substitutes which the coach made, perfect substitutions if you ask me, to push that game into a defensive mode where you should just make sure that you don't lose. So it was a fantastic display. When it came to penalty shootouts, Augustine has already spoken about it. I gave up when it came to penalties, if you ask me. I didn't have that. I had that feeling that these girls can actually make us proud. But when you look at a simple history of the two opportunities that we had to bury the balls from the penalty spot, and we missed them clean and nice, I was like, okay, so if we have used two different players who have missed these penalties before, and they are still part of the same squad, luckily enough, I think Ochumba was substituted, and my mathematics was maybe the taking off of Ochumba is actually bringing in someone a player that can actually be responsible for a penalty, and that's exactly what we got at the end of the day. And Grace Chanda never takes a penalty, like Augustine said. She was given that responsibility, went with confidence, buried the ball in the back of the net, and that was it. So for me, fantastic display by the girls. And when we shift our focus and look at the game that they'll be facing against South Africa, South Africa is one team that is like our very own. You know, when you're in love and you're dating, you love South Africa. We date with South Africa. Those are our people. In the last match we played them, I think it was earlier in the year when we had a friendly against them, we gave them a nice bashing in their own backyard. 3-0, and Barbara Banda, I think, was responsible for 2. And our very own Chitundu, I think, buried 1 in the back of the net. So when you look at the last 5 games that we've played South Africa, we've had an upper hand. Okay, they won 1 last year, 1 friendly. They won 1, then I think we went to Kosafa. I think, what was the result? I think we drew. That game we drew. It went into penalties and we beat them on penalties. Well, that is where Rushomo missed again. Yes. Remember, missed that penalty in that game. So when it comes to our sisters in South Africa, those are our very own. Those, even in football, we can say, from the financial side, we normally say we can actually give them a collateral-free loan because we trust them that they'll bring back the money even if they go. So it will be a very, very tough game, I might say, and kudos to the South Africans for also qualifying to the World Cup. We'll have two nations from this side of the continent heading into the World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. So it will be very, very interesting to see how the fixture is on Monday evening.
Even for you home there, you can simply participate by calling in and giving us your view in terms of the SHEPOLOPOLO. And the question that's scrolling down there is, the SHEPOLOPOLO going to win the Africa Cup of Nations, the Women's Africa Cup of Nations?
Just to add on, Amos, there are 2 unsung heroes in terms of
that's where I was going.
There have been Moses Pedro Mwanza and Aaron Muanga Jr., who have promoted tirelessly the women's game, and you can see what the guys have done. It's something which maybe people behind the scenes, they wouldn't see that, but these guys have put in really good effort to try and update people on women's football. Even if you listen to the commentary carefully, you would note that the profiles that the commentators at the Africa Cup are using, it was Moses and Aaron who are doing those profiles. If you follow their pages very, very well, you would see that these guys have done a very, very good job. And Aaron Muanga had a lot of faith in the young Evelyn Katongo, and you would see why he had a lot of faith in this young girl and her potential, her work rate, her enthusiasm. I think to me she's a complete player. I do not think she will play in this league in the coming seasons. Probably she's going abroad and she'll be signed by a very, very top club, maybe in Europe, because she's very, very talented. You would see she works very hard. She's very honest. She keeps the ball very well. She's technically gifted, and Aaron was waxing really cool about this girl until I was forced to go and watch this girl, and I see now why Aaron was talking about this girl. And every time she steps onto that field, she works extra hard, and she wouldn't love to disappoint people like Aaron, who have got a lot of faith in the young girl and her family. And it's very, very good that we have got people that are dedicated, that have gone out of their way to try and help promote women's football in Zambia.
Let's look at the unsung hero.
Just talking about that girl. I think the game that we played, we had a friendly against our sisters from Malawi at Nkoloma Stadium, and one thing Aaron said, when I arrived, I went into the stadium. I sat next to Aaron and we were having a conversation, and that girl started from the bench on that game, and on that day, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's just speak this score, Rapson. Below? Yellow?
Yes.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You are through to Off the Pitch. Your name?
Rogers.
Oh, okay. You can go ahead with your contribution, Mr. Rogers.
Okay, sir.
Okay, it's somehow your line was breaking, but you can try to call again using the same lines that are there on your screen. Uncle Epson.
Yeah, so on that very day, I think I was just beginning to start focusing on the ladies team. I sat with Aaron, and Aaron was busy telling me, Robson, okay, Aaron calls me Mr. Scombe. Mr. Scombe, there's a girl that I want you to pay attention to. I'll just tell you that it's this one. Watch this girl, and at the end of the game, you and I should have a conversation and see where this talent is going. And that girl was Evelyn Katongo, and that time, I think, that week that Zambia was playing Malawi, I think the previous week, the under-17 were also having a friendly, so she was on the other side. Then she came to the other side. She joined the main team, and after watching that girl, I saw talent in that girl, and I was like, oh, okay, now Zambia is going to have a very, very good midfielder in this girl, and she was very, very on point. And for Pedro, I think these two guys, they deserve accolades. They deserve to be recognized in the women's in the women's football arrangement. I think whoever follows football, you will understand that without Pedro, without Aaron, the information that these two people, of course, not forgoing and forgetting about the others that also follow.
Let's speak this. Hello? Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, thank you.
Your name and where you are calling us from?
Just calling you from Eastern Province.
Oh, okay. You can go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, we enjoy the show.
Oh, thank you.
My contribution is, I think the national women's team should just continue working as a team. We are able to beat South Africa, man.
Okay.
Yeah, the teamwork is really displayed. Despite the disappointment we have on Zambia Banda, but we are playing that game for her. I believe for the World Cup, she will not be disqualified again.
We hope so.
We don't believe the game, but the rest down is on the goalkeeper. And now Kosapa, I don't know, but the situation was, there was that young boy with the power dynamo.
Lawrence.
For me, I like that boy. I don't know if he can be groomed and he can come on board.
Okay.
He's actually one of the goalkeepers there.
Yeah, I hope you know the footballer talking about the guy.
There is Lawrence Mlenga, or the other one was Kakunda. So depending on which one. Or is with Lumana Radiance now, eh? Yeah.
Okay. Now
I'm sure.
The guy the coach, I'm sure he can come on board and help the nation.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you so much. That's my contribution.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for your contribution. And very soon we'll shift our attention to the men's national team. Your conclusion on Rapson and the women's national team.
Well, the only thing I can say is let them continue doing what they are doing. Let them continue believing in themselves. They had one target. The target was to qualify to the World Cup. So basically on paper they've achieved their target. What they are doing is probably putting an icing on the cake that we already have. And this is a time when the team requires a psychologist to be with the team, because the girls qualified to the World Cup, very high chances that their mental strength has gone flat because they've achieved what they wanted to do. So the next question is anybody going to blame them if they lose against South Africa? In their mindsets, in their mentals, they've already achieved something. So they need, and I'm sure FAS has done their best in making sure that even as they are focusing on South Africa, they are being psyched to say, this is not where we need to be. Let's break the records and become champions 10 years after our men also won the continental crown, and I'm sure they will make us proud. And our South African brothers and sisters out there, be very careful. SHEPOLOPOLO is on fire, and we will do Zambia proud on the day on Monday, and looking forward to that particular game on Monday.
So just a quick fixture, we managed to qualify to the semi-finals where Zambia is going to face South Africa and Morocco is going to face Nigeria. The winner of both games will play the final and the others will play the third and fourth. But all 4 teams have qualified for the Women's World Cup.
There's one more slot.
And one more slot that will be done during the playoffs. And yesterday we saw our men's national team playing at the COSAFA, where they also managed to beat Senegal by 4 goals to 3. And it was an exciting game where the Prince was making a lot of noise. So if we can just have maybe the highlights of the game that was played yesterday.
Injury. Alassane Faye, Musa Ndiaye and Al-Haj Balde also make way. The latter is on a yellow card, so he could be protected for Kapila. Almost losing up, but he stabs it forward here for Kampamba. He has a go! Oh, brilliant opener! That is absolutely magnificent from Kelvin Kampamba.
Wow. It's the response, much more, assertive, aggressive. They won the battle in that midfield. They had to set it up. The invitation was there. This is when I talk about it is in
northern Zambia, previously fought Roseburg. Oh, effort is not far. He's watching now, so
Gaspar is watching.
Check your phone in 5 minutes.
I need to check my phone.
Now, Senegal with an opportunity for an equalizer, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
We need another translation.
Wow, and it's his second.
Power. If you don't clear your lines, but this was well worked. Look at the position and how it was set up. Placement.
This corner with a bit of good luck.
I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, it swung in and had to be alert. Zambia looking for the follow-up shot, and it is in! Scrambled home, and they have the lead again. It's Spencer Sautu with his 4th Zambian goal.
Oh, look at early, but they had to bounce back. It was almost straight from the corner into the net, but the persistence, the aggression, they needed badly. Chitucha Bueno, Maningi, Nyanja.
Spent some time in Spain. Surprise. Ooh, fierce efforts, and on the follow-up, Zambia have their 3rd. Holders run brilliantly, did Ricky Banda. And an unstoppable force on the domestic front comes good with the national team.
Ichintu Chisuna Sana Bemba Chintu Chabuino. That face for me. It's that pass. You see, this is a nightmare for goalkeepers, Grant. Once the ball just bounces in front of the keeper, you're likely to spill it. And when you
finding Banda, who was arriving late. Banda steered it over. Oh, excellent! Kelvin Kampamba with a glorious individual goal.
Granted, well worked. Onto the side, improvising. Awkward angle. What awkward angle? I defy the odds. That's what he seems to be saying to us, Grant. It looks beautiful.
Orange and black. Kamara Lifts it in. Clever little flicked header. And Senegal do have a goal back. Well, it was a gorgeous.
I still want more. This is the most trickiest ball to defend. For defenders, it is the most trickiest. Any touch, success of the Zambian team. But I have to say it again. Chintu Chazino Maningi, Senegal.
Those are some of the highlights, or those are the highlights of the game that was played last night, where Zambia managed to beat Senegal by 4-3 and booked themselves a final to face against Namibia.
Well, congratulations to the men's football team that qualified to the finals. They'll be facing Namibia on Sunday. Probably, not even on Sunday, it's tomorrow actually. They'll be facing Namibia in the finals. But when we quickly look at the game itself, I think for once we played a very, very good attacking game. We could see the anger, the zeal to take the players on. The substitutes that came on were on point. We saw, and the best substitute that I really enjoyed yesterday was Joshua's going in, and Budo, the popular known as Budo. I think his contribution after he came on was very, very fantastic. For once, I believed that that is a talent that is going to win us, to take us to the World Cup at some point in future. Because his display when he came in was very, very on point. But let's quickly look at the team itself. Kelvin Kampamba, what a strike from that long range. And well, for him to be given man of the match on the day, I think he really deserved that. He really worked hard for that particular award. And when you look at the fluidity that we had in midfield, Prince in the beginning was throwing a lot of stray passes, and I was even wondering how he manages to make the starting 11, because when he started in that game, he made a couple of stray passes in the first half, and we were quite a little bit wasteful. And when we started going into attack, we had Ricky Banda up there mesmerizing the defenders, and probably was doing what he normally does best. He rarely he's a goal poacher. And the goal that he scored yesterday, that rebound, an assist from Kelvin Mwanga Kampamba after the goalkeeper parried it in his path and he put it in the back of the net. I think for me, Ricky Banda did his part up front. Kelvin Kampamba was on point. When you look at the support that he had, Patrick Gondo also had an assist in that game, and it was a very, very fantastic display. Before I don't know where I should even focus on, but I will come back to the whole team. To begin by discussing the whole team, I wouldn't want to see Sirio Chiwe anywhere near the finals on Sunday. All the goals that he conceded yesterday, on a normal day he could have done something very, very different. He was always off his line. He was caught off his line on all the goals that we conceded. And this is a very, very annoying thing in football, where everybody in the ground, in the field of play, is doing their part, and you see where you are leading a team by 4-1, and the goalkeeper continues to make one mistake after the other. I sat back and I was telling my colleagues, the ones I was watching soccer with, I said, this is Steven Mwansa, this goalkeeper coach. This is a time when I can actually substitute a player and probably sacrifice to have one man off and put a goalkeeper in there. I would have taken Sirio Chiwe off yesterday, because I saw, imagine if that game had an extra 3 minutes after that 90 plus something minutes. The game would have drawn that game and would have gone into penalties or extra time. But clearly, a player of his caliber, a player who's been exposed at a very high level in the South African League. Of course, maybe the league in South Africa is not as high as ours in Zambia. But I think this is a guy who's been exposed that day. And I think him being clubless for all this period. Remember when they called him into the national team? You asked why. I asked why.
Augustine defended by saying.
There are
two reasons. I
argued because I was thinking they would have used Sebastian and the Naxos goalkeeper who was Mukwanya. I
agree.
Why is Mwenyachiwe being added to this list? Because one, the guy
has been clubless.
No, sir, I apologize.
You apologize.
You should forgive me for defending him because I'm equally embarrassed to have defended him. And I was actually hoping that it's one way of helping him bounce back to his usual form. You remember this guy has been clubless for over 6 months and now he's joined Zesco United in Zambia. And he needed to bring back his morale back to that level. And this tournament for me was a stepping stone to bringing his level of performance to a level where we can say we have a goalkeeper at national team that can be relied on. But clearly from what I saw yesterday, this guy, and I'm only hoping that he's on the next plane coming back home to come and watch with us on TV or tomorrow, because if he's going to be used in tomorrow's I'm looking at it from an angle where Namibians, if you've seen how Namibians have been playing at this COSAFA tournament, they've not conceded a goal. And they've been hammering shots on target in every game. Even their route to the final, I think yesterday they knocked off Mozambique. If you watched that game, those are hungry players whose focus is on target. They kept on shooting on target against a very resilient Mozambican side, very strong Mozambican side, but they brushed them aside and won, and those are the guys that we are facing in the finals. To have a goalkeeper like Sirich with defending us against a very resilient and lethal striking force of Mozambique, we are in trouble. It is going to be in goals.
Augustine, just a quick one on it.
Yeah, I think he's not the worst goalkeeper, Munyachiwe, but
among the ones that are there,
he's not the worst goalkeeper. He's not a very, very bad goalkeeper. He's a decent goalkeeper, but the fact that he hasn't been active for 6 months, like you have said, I think to me that's a lot of time for a goalkeeper. You lose your sharpness, you lose your focus,
has he ever been sharp?
You lose your alertness. I think to me it is things that you can see that Munyachiwe, if he's getting game time, he will probably improve on that, and that's the one reason why I questioned the selection of Munyachiwe into this COSAFA team, because I felt there are goalkeepers that deservedly did well during the course of last season. Sebastian Mwange of Green Eagles is one of those goalkeepers that were very, very outstanding. Rodrigo Mukwanya of Napsa Stars was one of the most impressive goalkeepers across the two leagues, the National League and the Super League, and you would have thought he would have been given a chance, even just being part of the team or not being the one to be between the sticks. It would have his growth. And if you look at the SHEPOLOPOLO's performance against Botswana in the first game, we lacked rhythm, we lacked there wasn't any flow to the game, because these players are just coming from off-season, and you would see that they lack the sharpness, the fitness levels were not at where you would have loved for a player who is playing international football. And truth be told, Botswana played better than us in the game against in the quarterfinals, and they could have won the game easily. We had to push the game to penalties so that we get over the line. Performances like Kelvin Mwanga, he was below par in the first game against Botswana.
Even the penalties against Botswana, your goalkeeper.
Yeah, but one thing you saw from Munyachiwe in the game against Botswana, in the penalty, when he went to penalties, he was dominating, he was in charge, he was intimidating all the oppositions when they were coming forward to take the penalties. Probably that was one reason why we qualified into the semi-finals. And from the first game against Botswana, you saw that our players were lacking the mass sharpness, the alertness. If you look at Botswana, were a team that had played 3 games prior to the game against Zambia, so they are already in the rhythm. They had that feel-good factor. They had minutes under their belts, unlike our players who are just coming from off-season. You could see they lacked a lot of sharpness, and we couldn't keep the ball very well. We didn't pass it like we would have loved. There were some combinations that were very, very impressive in the game, like Benedict Chepeshi and Alan Kapila. Maybe probably the understanding they have from Red Arrows. Luka Chamanga on his debut did very well going forward. He provided us with the width. But in the final third, especially when we had the ball, what did we do well with that ball? We were very, very wasteful. Substitutions like Patrick Gondo brought a lot of life into the game against Botswana. Maybe that's one reason why he started in yesterday's game, because when the boy came, he was very, very direct. He was running at defenders. And
he's from Ghana Football Club.
Yes, a boy from Ghana Football Club. Very, very, with a bright future. He didn't have a very good season last season. If he gets his act right, he will be one of the top talents in this country. Going into the game against Senegal, it was always going to be physical. We need to be brave when we are in possession of the ball. We need to attack the spaces in behind, and Moa stand up in yesterday's game against Senegal. He was always attacking them. Every time he picked the ball, he would look to run at oppositions. He picked good pockets of spaces to try and link up play between midfield and attack. Ricky Banda didn't look very much isolated in yesterday's game because Moa was always going to be that guy who was going to play close to Ricky Banda. And the flow of the game, up until when we reached 4 goals, we were dominating. But you would see the fact that we are coming from off-season, energy levels drop when it reaches 75th minute going upwards. That's when we lose concentration, because most of the times when players are tired, they lose their head. It goes with their legs. And we considered goals that we could have avoided. Mwenyachiwe could have done better. He's a seasoned goalkeeper in the PSL. He's come back to Zesco United. He could have done better. And
is he going to have his game time?
That's questionable, and we hope we will have a lot of game time, because Zesco United have invested in him, and he needs to pay back to the team. And substitutions like Dixon Chapa, he came in to try and close the game. Yeah, because the coach saw that we are slowly but surely losing the advantage that we had, and he was very sharp to try and bring Dixon Chapa just to close the game. We are through to the finals now. What do we do against a youthful Namibian side? They're very energetic, like Angorapson said. They're very attack-minded. They'll run at you. They love to attack the space in behind. That's where we need to be very aware of, because I do not see any reason why we shouldn't beat Namibia. This is a team which is coming from a league which was suspended a couple of months ago. Yeah, so we could see that these guys, they had a period where they were dormant. They never had a league going, and we have had teams like Red Arrows, Zesco United, Zanaco playing in continental football. Their players are in this COSAFA team. We need to have an edge. If we include players like Dixon Chapa, players like Mwenyachiwe, players like Kelvin Kabamawanga into this developmental team, developmental tournament, the COSAFA, we really need to win it, because you cannot get these players and go and lose the final. It won't make any sense, because these guys are not developing. These are established household names when it comes to Zambian football. If we had gone with an under 23 side and we lose the final, that would be acceptable. But these guys, there is no room for error. They cannot come back second. They need to come back first with the gold medal and the trophy when they come back.
What's your prediction, Angorapson? Just a quick one.
Well, very lucky to be facing Namibia in the finals, and I think the Namibians have not had a very good share of their results against Zambia. I think we have beaten them a couple of times. The worst result for Zambia has been draws, and getting into that game, when you look at how their strikers are and what they are capable of doing, probably they could cause a very serious upset, because I've watched them attack. I've watched them play. They like running at defenders. And when you see how Kelvin Kapumbo has been protecting the back four in yesterday's game, I could see he was neither here nor there. He didn't play the way he played against Botswana, and if he replicates that kind of performance against Namibia in the finals, those young boys of Namibia, they are very young, by the way, an average age of about 22, 23, and getting into that final with that team, if we are going to be reluctant based on the past glory that we've had over Namibia, I think we are going to face a very tough match. But like Augustine has mentioned, the quality and caliber of the players that are playing there, those have a lot of experience at continental level as well as international level, and facing a team like Namibia, for me, that is a given. I know everybody will say it's a game of 90 minutes. Namibia is also going after it. Yes, I do understand that. But I think the Zambians have an edge over Namibia, and the gold medals will be a portion that the Zambia national soccer team will come back with. That trophy for COSAFA is surely coming home. That trophy, AFCON, where women are, the WAFCON, is also probably smelling that it should be on its next flights back home to Zambia. So my prediction tomorrow, Zambia will carry the day very, very difficult circumstance. Oh, by the way, my prediction that Zambia will carry the day is on condition that Cyril Chikwe doesn't play. If he's the one who's going to be in goals, I'll probably say it's a 50-50 affair and we'll leave it to the performance and may the best team win.
So going into this final, like I said, there shouldn't be any excuses. We just have to win it by all costs. We have carried a very, very big squad there with our experienced players, and we can't come back with excuses. We went to try and develop a side. No, we went there to win. That's why we carried Senior Mwenyachiwe. That's why we carried Kelvin Kampamba Mwanga, Benedict Chepeshi, Dominic Chala. These are players who are featuring in the qualifiers. We went there to win this tournament, and these guys must come back with the trophy. I do not think Mwenyachiwe will be dropped because there is no time for preparation.
Not coming back home.
Yeah, I don't think it will be dropped to the bench, and the coach doesn't have that luxury. They'll just have today to work on tactics probably, and go into the game tomorrow. Probably there won't be any. Maybe we won't see any changes into tomorrow's game when we face Namibia because there's no time for preparation. It's just recovery sessions and tactics, and then they go again tomorrow. What we want to see is a game where we will dominate Namibia. We have to send a message to Southern Africa that we are still a giant in Southern Africa. We need to try and stamp authority in games like this. The last time we played Namibia in a final was the plate final, and we lost it on penalties, if you remember, in Namibia. We need to revenge that in South Africa and win this COSAFA and come back and equal Zimbabwe, who are the record holders, 7 titles. We need to do that. There are no excuses whatsoever. Zambia has to win it tomorrow, and I predict a 2-0 scoreline.
Those are the predictions for tomorrow's COSAFA final, where Zambia is facing Namibia. But when you look at the game of football, we've got a month and some days for the MTN Super League to resume, and we've got some fixtures. Just the fixtures are out, and maybe just a quick one on the 20th of August 2022. We've got these fixtures where FC Muza will host Green Buffaloes, Romana Radiance will host Green Eagles, Chambishi will host Zanaco, Nkwazi will host Power Dynamos, Nchanga Rangers will host Beautycon, Red Arrows will host Napsa Stars, Ngana will host Cow Warriors, Prison Leopards will host Zesco United, Forest Rangers will host Kansanshi Dynamos. But for me here, maybe an interesting game is the one and corruption that you've just noted, the Red Arrows versus Napsa.
It will be very, very interesting if you ask me. It's a repeat of and they're using the same venue, by the way. So the game will be at Nkoloma Stadium, and Napsa Stars is out in Livingstone doing their pre-season preparations, and it will be very, very interesting, knowing very well that Chisi can be beaten twice continuously by the same team. So this time around, I feel, and because the Red Arrows is also preparing for continental football, there's a lot of seriousness in those preparations, and of course not taking anything away from Napsa Stars. They're also very busy preparing for their comeback to the Super League, and very, very interesting fixture, I must say, and we'll talk about it as we start getting closer to the actual games, because we need to look at the transfers as well. How many players have joined Napsa Stars? What tactics are likely to change? We also focus on Red Arrows and many other teams that have added to their squads, and see how the teams are gelling, and probably a week or two before the league starts, we'll see a couple of friendlies being played. That's where we'll be able to see how prepared these teams are before the start of the season.
Augustine, just a quick one on these games.
Yeah, I think I'll first have to congratulate the Football Association of Zambia for releasing these fixtures on time, because it has always been a problem when it comes to Zambian football. We see fixtures being released the actual week when the league is starting. Monday, maybe Sunday, we release fixtures, and then you are preparing for a team for just in the space of 5 days. And kudos to Football House for getting this act right. These fixtures are out on time a month before the league it kicks off. And if you see those fixtures week one, those are very, very interesting fixtures. One which catches my eye is Green Buffaloes Muza. Probably we might see a coach shifting
switch, from Muza to GB,
and losing his former team on the first day of the season, which will be very, very good. It's a new look Green Buffaloes Football Club. They've shipped up some players. Even their goalkeeper Fred is rumored to be moving to newly promoted Romana Radiance. We see what will happen to Green Buffaloes. They're trying to change the direction of the football club. Another one is Nkana versus Ukawara. It's always an exciting game. Yeah, that will be one game of the week if you look at those fixtures. Warriors, every time when they come up with Nkana, it's always a big fight for both teams. And if you've seen in recent years, Nkana always do well when they visit Luka Goldfish Stadium rather than when they are playing at home against Warriors. It's one game that we'll look out for. And we just hope we'll have a very good season. Teams are preparing. We hope to see how the promoted side will perform. How many are we going to have relegated come the end of the season? We need to see a season better than we had last. Another interesting fixture is week 2. If you've looked at week 2, the champions, Red Arrows, visit the runners-up, Zesco United. It's going to be a huge encounter in Dola in week 2, and it promises to be a very good season. And
Rapson will say we'll travel for that, huh?
And Rapson, when we executed Derby, that's one thing we every time when fixtures are out, Power Dynamos and Ghana, what do they look forward to? Kitwe Derby.
That's all we look out for, and it will be very interesting. But like the fixtures are, I think this season it will be very interesting. I'm not just too sure if the promises that were made that we are going to introduce VAR are going to be a reality. I am not very sure.
But one thing which I find interesting about this league is that in previous seasons, every time coaches were given targets, say finish in the top 4. Finishing the top 4. Now we only have top 2 to qualify for continental football. We want to see what the teams are targeting now for. Because it was only top 4.
So the target that is likely to remain, for me, if you ask me, is still the top 4. Why? Because the only cup we have on the
so many top 6 now will be the most
sought for.
Yeah,
it will be the most sought
for the top 6.
The top 6 plus the Eden colleagues, and then we are sorted out for the
But I think we need to reach a stage where teams need to be realistic. You are a Musa, you come up. What are you realistically playing for? Is to stay up. Rather than putting pressure on coaches, say, let's finish in the top 6, let's finish the top 4. I think to me that's ridiculous. Be realistic with your targets. If you're a team which is just being promoted, let's stay up this season. Then we try and build from next season, rather than having realistically ambitions and then get relegated the following season. I think to me that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is very ridiculous because we saw how Celtics started. They probably visited one season and they've gone back to where they belong, and they have offloaded the entire squad and they're starting afresh. Not really offloading by way of getting rid of them, but the players have made moves. GBFC got a couple of them and Red Arrows, but I think the issues of promoted teams being very ambitious, I think the targets should not, when you get promoted to the Super League, the executives should not be that excited that they've been promoted and they should go 10 steps ahead. It's one step at a time. Get promoted, get into that Super League. Go and have a feel of how the pressure is up there. Stabilize, avoid the bottom 4. Your target should, don't just remain the bottom 4. Remain there. First year is a year of having a feel of the stadium. Because remember, we have a couple of young players who have never played in the stadiums around the Super League venues that are there. So probably one round of games, you get experience. In the second year, probably that's when you can put task on the coaches to say, okay guys, we now understand how every team plays. When we visit this ground in Northwestern Province, this is what happens. When we go to Nkana, this is what happens. So now that we've gathered information, let's use this information and focus on what our next target should be. So for me, really, these clubs, of course, no excuse to Napsa Stars, no excuse to Rumwana Radiants, no excuse to Musa. Musa has been there before. They've had that experience where they came and they went back again. This time around, their target should simply be survival. Survive, but for Napsa Stars and Rumwana Radiants, those two can have a little bit or slightly more ambition because they've been there before and now they are going back. So probably they learned their lessons of coming back. So when they go there, they'll probably be targeting the top 6 just to participate in the. And one
thing is that every time you, like you have said, the executives are always excited. But one shameful part is that you invest a one kwacha and expect to get back
50
1,000,
kwacha.
which is always a joke. I think to me you need to be realistic.
Wake up for 5 kwacha, I want to win 500.
Exactly, you need to be realistic with how you're investing in
2,000
the club. If you invest rightly, you recruit rightly, maybe you may have an ambition, okay, let's try and finish in the top half of the table. Let's not be closer to that relegation zone. Let's try and be mid-table, and then we'll push on from next season. A good example is Kansanshi Dynamos, who did that. They had a very, very poor first round, if you have to be honest. But they went halfway through the season and rectified that. They went and recruited very, very well.
Senior
they brought in senior players who see them cross over that line safely. And they did just that. Now Kansanshi Dynamos may be a bit ambitious. Say, let's try and get closer to that top 6. Maybe have an outside chance for continental football. You need to build your blocks steadily so that you do not destroy your entire project by being over ambitious.
Due to time, and perhaps on your final remarks.
Well, all the best to the men's national team that will be participating in the finals tomorrow. We wish you nothing but the best, and to the goalkeeper Sirio Chile, we've spoken about you, and I know it's very, very psychological, and what those coaches will do is, instead of killing the morale in the team, they will probably start him just to boost his confidence, to say, we still have faith in you, you can do better. Psychologically, it could actually help him become a better goalkeeper on the day tomorrow, and we wish them all the best. For our ladies in Morocco, all the best against a resilient South African side that has been our baby. We've always beaten them, we've always drawn and beaten them, we've had an advantage over them in the past, but this is a different stage. We've been playing them in friendlies, we've been playing them in Kosafa. That's a different stage, it's a different tournament, it's got a lot of pride in it, and remain focused, remain focused and just attack that particular team and win. By the way, we also have our very own Diana Chikotesha at the Women's AFCON. That lady, the first assistant referee, is also making Zambia proud. We saw her doing her job in the game where Cameroon was playing Nigeria. She was the first assistant, and we also acknowledge the fact that she's representing our country very well, just like we acknowledge Janice Kazo when you're doing that job. So to those two, the assistant referee and the women's national team, all the best on Monday as we await that victory that will take us to the finals. And to our dear viewers, thank you for joining us.
August.
I think I'll start by congratulating Clint Kangwa on his debut for Red Star Belgrade. Managed to score and win the man of the match award. You can see that this player is really going places. He's one of those talents in Zambia that will be the next big thing. Clint Kangwa. The next step probably will be the La Liga, Premier League, or the Bundesliga, because he's headed that direction. And massive congratulations to him. And I wish the SHEPOLOPOLO boys all the best as they take on Namibia in tomorrow's final. We really need to win this tournament to try and stamp our authority in Southern African football. We have been a sleeping giant for a while now, and we need to wake up and conquer not just Southern Africa, but Africa and the world at large. And going to the SHEPOLOPOLO, South Africa are beatable. I've watched them a couple of games. They're a very, very attacking side, and tomorrow on Monday we expect an end-to-end game. It will be like basketball because both teams like to attack and put the ball on the floor. We just need to take our chances. We do not need to be complacent. We need to be very, very alert, because they are a very, very good attacking side, but they are very beatable. Gone are the days when SHEPOLOPOLO was being beaten left, right, and center. Now we stand toe to toe against these powerhouses of African football. If we can get through South Africa, I believe we are going all the way and winning the title, because Nigeria, like Cameroon, they beat heavy. If we are going to be very quicker than them, if we can attack the spaces they leave in behind, we are going to win the game against either Morocco or Nigeria in the final. And a big thanks to the viewers out there that tuned in to watch us. We always appreciate your efforts, and a big thanks to the entire production team for making this possible. Anyway,
that's all that we had for you today, but as at now, from here, all roads lead to Kablonga Boys, where our boys Cabinet Stars are in the playoffs, and they will start. Their first game is against Kambasa, and their second game is against Makeni. All the games are being played at Kablonga Boys grounds. That's where we'll be going to give that coverage that is needed. So for those who are willing to come through and support, you are welcome. And on behalf of the whole entire production team, not forgetting Uncle Fred, who has been helping us technically today. And for one, Isaac, who is not feeling well, hope you get well soon, my bro, my guy. Hope to see you soon. And one, Precious Mzee Sakaliji, who has been here helping us, not forgetting our pastors, Pastor Moses and Victoria Chilwa, for giving us this beautiful, beautiful platform to give you nothing but the best in terms of sports. Stay glued for Amazing Atamanda is coming on your screens with the weekly gospel show. We are out.